People, Deluded, different location, as you know. I was walking through the pathway to start my day job, and I thought, I'm early, as you know, always early. I thought to myself, if I get home, I'm gonna lose some of my talking points or what I'm feeling with you guys, man. This is a big reason as to why I do these videos, more than not to bounce thoughts off you guys. I saw some of your comments in my last video in the similar surroundings. Ironically, there was City in the background or something. Apologies, people, I didn't know, and I guess you should be aware of your surroundings. I always talk about midfielders doing that. I should have been aware. I only think there's silly other names, and I don't know who drew any of that. But in regards to the new season, now, on one hand, I have great sympathy for Emery. We know allegedly the financial stipulations that kind of prevent us from making the changes. We know the imbalances within the squad and certain things that need to change for us to move forward from a sporting front. So I have great sympathy with Emery, because a lot of these players just aren't with it, and a lot of the players that are with it, they're going to take time to develop, and football simply put hasn't got time for patience and things. As much as people bang on about patience, Emery should be given time. If certain things go wrong, like you saw towards the end of the last season, question marks are asked of everybody. And I'm not talking about fair constructive criticism, because whether you're Emery, whether you're Sanye, whether you're the players, everybody deserves that. But the Wolves are going to be out next season. It's his first year and this and that, it's not going to be there. And on one hand, like I said, I've got great sympathy. Apologies for the noise, people. Like I said, I've got great sympathy with Emery, because it's almost an impossible job if we believe what was in regards to the budget and all of these sort of things. But on the other hand, he knew the role he was stepping into. He knew coaching in regards to improving certain players that can be improved, and if miracles can happen in some players, mainly the young players, he knew coaching was going to be a big part of this. The lack of finances must have been spoken about, or if not said in layman's terms, it must have been told. For one reason or another, because allegedly we was in talks with Luis Enrique and a couple other managers, people, if you remember, in regards to Arsenal's new manager. And forgive me if not, we'll never know, but did Enrique and these sort of men turn it down when they found out about the transfer budget? Now, I'm not saying Emery relished it, but he accepted the stipulation. So I'm just saying you've got to look at it from a balanced point of view. On one hand, you have sympathy. On the other hand, it is what it is. In regards to next season, do I think this squad, honestly, right now in July, with the bottom of my heart, is good enough to get top 4, people? I'm going to say no, I don't think they are good enough. We show in great moments we can do our thing. Emery, for example, and I'm not criticising Emery when I'm saying this, big games, he's made me more confident in recent years, but over 38 game period, we've shown we can't do it. On one hand, we missed out by a point. On the other hand, we got to the Europa League final. By that logic, it can be done with this current crop of players, and they can do it if more often than not they defend properly and think properly. But by the same token, yeah, it's only 1 point in the Premier League, but you and I, people, can go through several incidences as to where we've dropped points, failed to recover points, failed to keep clean sheets, and other certain variables that have led to us not getting top 4. In the Europa League, yes, we had some great moments, and again, I'm not criticising Emery, because he's done his job getting us to the final, but at the end of the day, the players bottled it. And on one hand, we've been defending poorly throughout the season. What happened against Chelsea, conceding 4 goals in quick succession, is kind of what's been going on all season, which everyone has to take blame for. And on the other hand, if we're being harsh, Chelsea and us, from the start of the Europa League, we were the two people saying to get to to get to the final. So on one hand, of course, it's a great achievement. On the other hand, it's business as usual. So top 4 is the aim. If he doesn't get top 4, I don't know if people will hold on to giving him time and things like that. For me, it's impossible to predict. Certain things can happen. If he misses out on top 4, but we're moving forward as a team in terms of defensively and certain variables are looking in place, then of course he should get time. But if results are looking a bit iffy, we haven't improved defensively this season in many aspects. As much as I talk about defensive aspects, offensively as well, people, we look a bit predictable. We look a bit stale in terms of our general play beyond scoring these great goals. And regardless of what people say about Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and the departed Aaron Ramsey, there's incidences last season where we not only scored a lot of goals, but good quality teamwork goals, but we're not fashioning chances. Offensively, we need to improve. Defensively is the priority. If we don't get that, we don't get top 4, then I'm not too sure if he has a leg to stand on next season, to be fair. Again, he needs to be helped out in the transfer market. But for me, the target is clearly top 4, whether it can be done or not. Top 4. In regards to the FA Cup, I'd personally like to get to the semi-finals, because, Arsenal, like United, when you talk FA Cup, you talk about us. You could arguably say we're a cup side at least now. We've done our thing in the FA Cup. We've got to Europa League final. You could say we're better in these certain isolated incidences where you need to turn up versus a 38-game period. Do you get it, people? So for me, I'd say I would like to get to the semi-finals with that. Carling Cup's quite irrelevant. Of course, I would like to get to the final, but it's not. If Emery doesn't, it's not a thing like that. I would love us to get to the final, mainly for the young players, assuming they play. For me, the main targets would be top 4, improving defensively first and foremost, and actually seeing active steps into the team he's trying to create, whether he gets help in the market or not. So active steps in towards shaping his team. From a results point of view, top 4, be all and end all, top 4. I'd say FA Cup semi-final, Europa League. Clearly, we've got to try and get to the final. Again, it's us and United, really and truly. I'm not too sure of the other sides that are in it. Obviously, some top sides will mess around in the Champions League and fail to get out the group stages, so they'll drop into it as they have done in the last 2 years. But regardless of that, if other sides do come into it, we're going to be one of them sides that's spoken about in regards to should be getting to the Europa League final and going one better next season. So it's a debatable one, but I say all of this again, I have sympathy because it's the transfer market. Again, I do think we clearly need transfers. Transfers will help us, especially defensively. It will improve us. But people don't speak enough about defensive coaching and the need to improve existing players and what you have. I'm not talking about the individuals that we can't move forward with people, but I just feel when it comes to problems or teams are not in the best sort of shape, the current culture is just buying new players, signing new players. And again, signing new players is good. I'm not saying not sign new players, but we can't not speak about it from a coaching aspect to people. I'm not criticising Emery's coaching. I'm just saying we need to talk about that. We need to coach players. Some of these players cannot be improved. Again, if Emery doesn't improve them, for instance, Mustafi, but he's also got to try, I guess, play them blind miracles, like making Mustafi look like a world beater at times. Again, people, I'm joking with that and it can't happen, but you get the point. In certain players that we think can't be used, he's got to find a use for them sort of thing. You see guys like, I know Delp's gone to Everton and he wasn't the best player in City and he wasn't the most used, but they found a little role. So working around that, especially with the budget, we've got to do certain things like that. Of course, people working with the likes of Torreira, Guendouzi, Lacazette, Aubameyang, the individuals that you can kind of move for, Bellerin when fit, Holding when fit, Tierney assuming he comes, Saliba next season if Emery's still here, the new centre half excluding Saliba if reports are to be believed. He's got to move forward. The players that he can move forward with, shape the team around them and improve defensively in many aspects. Clearly clean sheets. We've got to improve for me, defending outnumbered, especially away from home. We've got to improve defensively from aerial crosses. We've got to improve in terms of our defensive positioning when defending against counter-attacks in wide areas. There's several incidences. We've got to learn to relish defending. Until we respect defending first and foremost, consistently, game in, game out, I'm not too sure we can really do anything as a club, because the same intensity that these players shown a handful of times against Spurs last season, the 1-1 victory over Liverpool last season, what else? Chelsea, these isolated incidences, couple fixtures to get to the Europa League final, the Valencia and all of them things there, and Napoli. Napoli was a big result, to be honest with you, over the 2 legs, clean sheet and them things there. Forgive me if I'm wrong. But these are isolated incidences. It's about showing that same application, no disrespect to these sides, against Villa away, against Sheffield United away, against Brighton away, against whatever team we dropped points last season against away from home, people, because that's what it is, man. And it goes back to being consistent, and it goes back to what I said a few videos ago, in that I'm at the point now where, of course, I want these players to play for the club, to play for the badge, to play for the fans, and all of these sort of things, people, but I looked at it last season and I think they've got to get back to playing for themselves, man. Football, I'm not saying these players don't care. Clearly these players care, innit? They're professional footballers. No one likes to see the negative press and people saying you don't care and you don't this and you don't that. But I think they've got to really fear failure. I don't think players at this club fear failing. They don't fear defeat. I think it is too easy to play for this club. Yes, we're not Arsenal of 2004. I do think it is very easy. I'm not saying you have to clamour people when you lose and bang on and scapegoat. I just don't think there's enough self-analysis and holding yourselves to high accountable standards when we lose games, because if it did, certain repeated mistakes won't happen time and time again. Me, honest football fan, guy going 9 to 5 with the limited resources, how many incidences have I showed you as examples of the same things happening time and time again? And you guys yourself have been watching Arsenal season in, season out, and have seen it. As much as I love my club, we're here because of several things that led us to this point. We didn't get here by mistake, and I feel certain players, they don't fear failure enough, and I feel it is quite easy to play for my football club, and I mean that in the nice possible way. And I'm not saying to bang on and clamour players, but it is, people, because at the start of the season, again, I'm not clamouring Emery, but at the start of the season, you heard, what Emery tells us where we need to be, Emery tells us where we need to improve. And I've seen several incidences where it's shown that, for me, again, I'm not there, but it looks like Emery has given them the all week or 2 weeks, they've worked on a similar plan, people. He's given them everything, and they've gone out there, and they've done it for 70 minutes, and then they've messed about. And I don't feel these players work things out enough. I know football has gone. I feel footballers don't think nowadays, because the things we praise Emery for, Conte for, Pochettino and Klopp for, this shouting business. Don't get me wrong, I like the passion. It's because they're always telling players where to be, because players I don't feel as intelligent, because they don't have to figure things out for themselves. You look at the previous Arsenal players, or the 80s, or in my day in the 2000s, and you look at the United sides, they had to work things out. Of course, you had Ferguson telling you need to defend better, but you might have a captain saying, listen, we're under the weather a bit, let's drop in, everybody just defend for a bit, let's soak up the pressure and go from there. Game management needs to improve. That's on Emery, I guess, to improve people, but I feel the players need to start working things out for themselves, because there's grown men in that side, 26 years of age, people that have played, and I'm not using this to bash them, but players that have played for their countries, players that have won competitions, players that have played in some serious hostile environments. They should be clued up enough by the amount of career appearances they've made to kind of have accountability and kind of improve where they're going wrong, because we see the same mistakes. Obviously, I'm not expecting everything to be fixed in pre-season, people, but we do need to see improvements, because on one hand, I don't feel we're getting top four and then doing all these things, so how can I say anything? And of course, my opinion can change if things happen and all of these sort of things, people, but at this moment in time in July, I have to give you what I honestly feel. On that note, I'm going to keep it moving, though, so people, DG.